I'm definitely not on Disney having representation in their characters, having trans characters, having gay characters. All of that is great, fantastic. You know, I would love to see a whole bunch of really super gay Disney content come out in the future. That's great. And at the same time, stop funding the people who are trying to legislate against the LGBTQ plus community. Just full stop. Because otherwise, like, people are funneling money into your corporation all the time to buy your content because everyone is addicted to Disney because you own everything. So I think most people would like to know that if they're buying their Disney Plus or whatever they're getting their services from, that it's not actually going towards funding some really gnarly shit, to say the very least. Disney to still fund the Don't Say Gay bill backers and will support gay rights with inspiring content. So, the Walt Disney Company has issued a statement for supporting the LGBTQ plus community amid the backlash against Florida's Don't Say Gay bill, supported by state politicians that the corporation has funded. But the company is still funding the homophobic politicians who supported the bill, and nothing Disney CEO Bob Chapek has said that indicates this will change in the future. The Orlando Sentinel reported that Disney has given money to every single sponsor and co-sponsor of the Don't Say Gay bill, which was passed by Florida's House of Representatives February 24th, officially titled the House Bill 1557. The proposed law is heading to the state Republican-held Senate. As the Orlando Sentinel stated, the bill's Senate sponsor, Ocala Republican Dennis Baxley, has actively backed anti-gay legislation for years, including laws that would block gay couples from adopting children. Additionally, Baxley once compared kids who live with same-sex parents to kids raised by alcoholics and abusers, and later said, "I'm not phobic, but I simply can't affirm homosexuality." The Walt Disney Company has allegedly donated to Baxley, amongst other bill supporters. As of this publication, Disney will not stop funding Baxley and other Florida Republican politicians who support the bill. Instead, Disney released a statement. And I quote, "We understand how important this issue is to our LGBTQ plus employees and many others. For nearly a century, Disney has been a unifying force that brings people together. We are determined that it remains a place where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. The biggest impact that we can have in creating a more inclusive world is through the inspiring content we produce and welcoming culture we create here, and the diverse community organizations we support, including those representing the LGBTQ plus community." President Biden has called the bill hateful, tweeting, "I want every member of the LGBTQI plus community, especially the kids who will be impacted by this hateful bill, to know that you are loved and accepted just as who you are. I have your back, and my administration will continue to fight for the protection and safety you deserve." Former Disney chairman, CEO Bob Iger, responded on Twitter, "I'm with the president on this. If passed, this bill will put vulnerable young LGBTQ plus people in jeopardy." However, the current CEO, Bob Chapek, has said and made a personal statement outside of the official Disney company address. Per a Hollywood Reporter expose, Chapek is staunchly opposed to bringing Disney into issues he deems irrelevant to the company and its business. Then why are you donating to a whole bunch of politicians? And I mean that in both directions. Why is Disney, the company, donating to a bunch of politicians? Could it be that they might be more favorable towards your company in certain regards? Latadondra Newton, Disney's chief diversity officer, sent a message to Disney's 195,000 employees to discuss the deeply troubling and heartbreaking developments in the Florida bill, citing Chapek had to meet with the leaders in our company's LGBTQ plus community to discuss how Disney can best support these important and valued employees and cast members. The company, I hate how they call their employees cast members. The company is slated to host a Reimagine Tomorrow conversation on March 22nd that will be dedicated to issues concerning our LGBTQ plus colleagues. Reimagine Tomorrow Global Summit, the first gathering of our employees worldwide to discuss progress on and plans for improving diversity, equity, and inclusion at Disney. I mean, the people kind of got mad at me, mostly liberals, around the time of Pride. And when Pride comes around is when you just see like the worst in corporate hypocrisy, where you'll have all these companies, all of a sudden they change their logos to rainbows, and all of a sudden they're talking about trans rights, and all of a sudden they're talking about all this kind of stuff. And it's such a charade, and always has been, because like, to me, if these companies are doing this as a performative action, they're all the Justin Trudeau of activism, every single one of them. They do this performatively, and then behind the scenes, they'll fund politicians who are directly impacting the lives of LGBTQ plus members. It doesn't matter how many gay, princes or princesses Disney makes in the future. It doesn't matter if they have certain scenes in which it's like, oh, well, this character, just so you know, is now canonically homosexual. So, Disney's done it. If you are actually funding things that are going to impact the lives of these people, then you should be called out for that, and you shouldn't be able to fool everyone, come Pride, that you by putting a flag and saying that all people are valid, that the company legitimately cares about this. This is incredibly gross. Disney responds to the protests and calls for actions from Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. In part, the biggest impact we can have is creating a more inclusive world through the inspiring content we produce. So again, and it's not a bad thing, by the way. I'm definitely not shitting on Disney having representation in their characters, having trans characters, having gay characters. All of that is great, fantastic. You know, I would love to see a whole bunch of really super gay Disney content come out in the future. That's great. And at the same time, stop funding the people who are trying to legislate against the LGBTQ plus community. Just full stop. Because otherwise, like, people are funneling money into your corporation all the time to buy your content because everyone is addicted to Disney because you own everything. So I think most people would like to know that if they're buying their Disney Plus or whatever they're getting their services from, that it's not actually going towards funding some really, really fucking gnarly shit, to say the very least.
Thousands of Florida high school students walked out of class, with some of them even showing up at Florida's Capitol to protest the state's Don't Say Gay bill. And the student that organized this protest has now been suspended from school. So I'll get to more on that in a bit. First, before we even get to this bill, this is just incredibly encouraging to see. Students out there fighting for what they believe in, fighting for what is right. It is fantastic to see this in a horrible state, incredibly conservative state like Florida, run by moron Ron DeSantis. But more on the bill here. So the bill, which passed in the House, bans discussions about gender identity and sexual orientation in grades K to 3 and limits those same discussions to age appropriate in other grades. The bill would also give parents greater authority to take legal action if school districts withhold sense.
You know what's so fucked up? And we mention the hypocrisy of the Republicans all the time. They're the party that seems to want to scream about the children whenever it's actually like a tool that they can use to gain more power, are also the ones who are directly impacting and endangering kids on a regular basis. Like, what do you think you are protecting by just keeping everything as a secret that no one can ever know? You must never know about these terrible, degenerate things. And if we don't teach you them, maybe it'll all go away. Maybe if we remove the word gay from the dictionary or our vocabulary, gay people would cease to exist. So just out of sight, out of mind, out of everything. Let's do that. Let's pass legislation. I can understand maybe if there was a concern where people are like, I don't feel it's appropriate for kids in grade 3 to be learning, about sexual intercourse. To me, it's just something that they want, that we should be learning at home. I can understand the concerns and the fears of a parent who thinks or wants to say that, but I cannot wrap my head around the idea of trying to lie to children that gay people don't exist. They do. A lot of them do. I don't get it. I sincerely, it is very 1984. It is the very 1984, George Orwell shit that people always complain about, the cancel culture, if you will. I mean, they are the ones that are banning books. They are the ones that are banning ideas and concepts. They are the ones that are like straight up legislating against children while at the same time posturing that all of this is to save the kids. Like, we cannot teach CRT in schools. If they do that, they'll learn that white people are evil and white people are super racist and cannot control their racism, and we can't have them learn these things because that's what CRT is, I think. I don't know. I learned something on a cereal box. This is a Wendy's, right? At least it is fucking, again, the kids who are pushing back against this. The kids are all right. Every single time I see fucking protests and Zoomers out there being like, what the fuck is wrong with our parents? That seems to be, what the fuck is wrong with our parents?
Sensitive information about a student. Quote, students might feel more comfortable at school. I know that I was, than at home in some spaces, especially if they are just exploring their own identity and orientation, Petos said. And Petos is Jack Petos, the organizer of this protest, who started this back on the 24th. Tweeting out here, today the Florida House passed the Don't Say Gay bill. Students are angry, frustrated, and ready to fight this sickening piece of legislation. I'm organizing a statewide school walkout on March 3rd. In opposition, I encourage student leaders to join me. So I'll get to more on his suspension and what that was about in a minute here. First, I want to discuss this bill, because I know some people out there are going to watch this and think, oh, grades K to 3, what's the big deal? Putting aside the other aspects for a second. Grades K to 3, what's the big deal? These are adult conversations. These kids shouldn't be talking about sexual orientation in grades K to 3. Well, put the shoe on the other foot. So you're okay with kids not being able to discuss their mom and dad? Of course not. That'd be dumb. So why can't kids discuss their mom and mom, or dad and dad?
Yes.
Why is it weird to have those conversations? You have to be able to reanalyze how you view the world, what is considered normal to you, and what is normal to other people. So Yes, banning this conversation in grades K to 3 is not a good idea. It is a horrible idea. What you end up doing is you end up ostracizing those students, those younger kids, and then they feel bad about having two moms or two dads and not being able to have these conversations and be open about their life. So it is so incredibly discouraging to see that in the year 2022 that bills like this are getting through. It's gross. And that is even, apart from the other aspects of this where they can limit those same discussions to age appropriate, which from what I'm reading really sort of just opens up the ability to ban these discussions in older grades as well. And then in addition to that, it then essentially forces teachers to tell parents of LGBTQ students that their kids are gay or trans or whatever it is. So forcing their students to out, or forcing their teachers to out these students to their parents before they are ready. Again, how can any of this be possibly justified by anyone with a level head here? All it does is you are eliminating the ability to have these conversations, and in turn, you are ostracizing the students that are a part of this.
And putting them in danger.
Now, a little more here. So, as I showed you at the beginning of this video, this was one of the protests here that was taking place in the Florida Capitol, where they're saying, we say gay, we say gay, we say gay. So let me play that quickly here because you could hear it. You could hear it on television in Florida when they were showing the Capitol. But let me first quickly play this again. There you go. So they're saying we say gay. Now you could hear it here. So this was as the House resumed their session after a break for budget conferences. The students participating in the Don't Say Gay walkout can be heard loud and clear on the Florida channel. Check this out.
An act relating to designation of the state.
The fact that this is happening in 2022, that is just striking, like so very striking. If you had told me like, yeah, this happened in the 80s, it was wild. They were passing these bills where you couldn't even talk about being gay. I'd be like, wow, that's such fucking homophobic part of our past. It's just deplorable.
Representative McClure, you recognized to explain the bill. Excuse me, one moment. Representative McClure, you recognized for a motion.
I'd like to explain the bill.
All right. I love it. So much energy that you could hear it from the Florida House. You could hear it on the Florida channel. Beautiful. Love it. Love this energy. It is incredible. Let's get to this suspension now. This is wild to me. So as I told you earlier, Jack Petos, he is the organizer of this walkout. He was suspended from his school, Flagler School.
In the UK, it's Section 28. In Scotland, it's 2A.
So,
good,
quote,
good to know that everyone is working in
told
reverse.
I was disrespectful and openly advocating against staff, Petos said. They suspended me from campus until further notice. I informed the principal I wasn't going to speak with him and was going to talk to a lawyer. Petos said he was suspended for bringing and distributing pride flags to students. He said an hour before the protest, Principal Greg Schwartz pulled him aside and voiced his opposition to the over 200 pride flags Petos purchased on his own and brought to the school. Quote, he told me I wouldn't be allowed to distribute the flags. He went further to question the intentions of our protest, asking if pride flags were relevant to opposition to the bill, Petos said.
Can you imagine waging a war on a rainbow? Because, that's what's happening. Fucking... We must ban the rainbow. No more refracted light. You cannot see the light spectrum represented in a flag. We must do this to protect the kids.
I decided to move forward and handed the flags to other students, organizers for distribution at the event. He was suspended for handing out pride flags. So they had apparently agreed to certain terms around the actual protest, so I guess that was apparently fine.
Yeah, prisms will turn the whole kids gay.
Handing out pride flags was a bridge too far for this principle. Look, you tell me who's going to be on the right side of history here. I mean, it's already obvious to, I hope, most of us, but let's go fast forward, 20 years.
Sure.
This principal really in the right for suspending this organizer, this student, for handing out pride flags? Come on. It is amazing to me just how out of touch some people are that there's even this much pushback. It's a protest for human rights. This is not, they're not trying to anger people, trying to get students to smash things. This is simply a protest to acknowledge how horrible this bill in Florida is and the damage that it will do to children. And handing out pride flags, no, that's too damaging. Can't have that. Banning discussions about same-sex relationships, making students feel ostracized from grades, kindergarten to 3, that's perfectly fine. Handing out pride flags, can't do that. That's a bridge too far. You're suspended. Absurd. Now, of course, not just students that are in support of
more
this,
on
but also
rainbows.
some faculty, at least this one person. So support for the protest was not from students alone. Quote, "I commend the students who want to stand up for the rights and the rights of others," a faculty member said, requesting anonymity. Fear of retaliation is rife in the district. Quote, "HB 1557, which is the Don't Say Gay bill, has the potential to cause harm to our children, both by outing students."
One of the things that like I can't wrap my head around also is the logic behind this. In like, do you think that if someone learns that gay people exist, it just magically turns them gay? Like, that buys into this weird, like, you know, globo homo conspiracy theory where everyone is just like, you know, deeply or, you know, conversion schools or everything in there where people are just like, you know what, we got to protect the kids. I mean, what happens if one of them turns gay when they find out gay people exist, you know? And he's got a really good point. Like, there are going to be kids in these schools that have same-sex parents. And so they can't even, like, are they not allowed to bring their parents to, like, you know, bring your parents to the school day? Are they not allowed to talk about their parents? Are they not allowed to refer to their two mummies? Can they not say that? Is that going to be like, oh, well, you'll get suspended. Don't you ever mention your mothers. I don't want to hear about your mothers. No, yeah, get out of here and take your rainbows with you. Goddamn.
To their parents before they are ready, and by making discussion of gender identity and sexual orientation impossible in younger grades. At first, one may think there isn't a problem with this prohibition due to the grade level restrictions. However, I can think of many examples where this isolates a child. A simple example: if you have a student with two moms in a class of first grade students, but cannot read a picture book about a character with two moms, you are denying that child's representation. None of the families they see in books will look like their family. So this is a great point, and one that I alluded to earlier, where you are simply ostracizing children for the families that they already have by not allowing these sorts of discussions to take place in K-3.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely abhorrent, to be totally honest with you. I can't believe this is happening in 2022 of all times. Like, I if you want to wrap your head around, like, okay, maybe people in their course of their life begin to try and figure out their sexuality, and they might not completely have a complete grasp of it, and so maybe later in life you start to question a couple things, like, why is it that I enjoy watching men masturbate just by itself? I mean, I don't think I'm gay, but I do enjoy that. I'm slightly confused. You know, I'm talking about a friend, not myself. But then, you know, I do often find myself in relationships with women, so that's kind of odd. Maybe I have to do some soul searching and explore some things. That's a very different conversation than being like, you cannot talk about being gay in school. You're not allowed to do that. You can't ever bring up being gay. You can't do anything related to that. It's a very bad thing. You know, it's a naughty word that we won't allow you. Like, do you think gay kids in high school have an easy time? Because I got news for you. No one has an easy time in high school. It's it's brutal. It's vicious. You get picked on. You get bullied for just even having something that is slightly bizarre. It could be like, oh my God, he's wearing glasses, 4 eyes, different, attack him, different. And so do you think a kid would choose in everything else that's taking place in school where people are bullying each other if you wear the wrong colored shirt to make a choice where people are now going to vilify you consistently? Like, I was called the F slur all the time in high school, and I wasn't openly like bi or anything. I was never open about any of that kind of stuff because everyone was called the F slur. Everyone was called every like fucking slur under the sun, because again, high school can be, if you're in public high school, it can be absolutely vicious. I don't know how things are in private schools, but I've heard they are equally as vicious. Like, people who go to like Catholic schools are like, oh yeah, no, yeah, it's not a walk in the park just because your parents have more money. Kids are kids. They'll be vicious to each other. Okay, they can be assholes to each other. There's a very quick in-group out-group mentality that forms very rapidly in these environments. And so all that being said, like, do you genuinely think that children, in amongst everything else, like, kids do not want to be bullied? Kids do not want to be ostracized. Kids do not want to feel unsafe. Trust me, it's a horrifying feeling. I've gone through it like everybody else at one point or multiple points in my life, and it's just one of the scariest things you can be as a kid when you don't have a sense of security and safety or family or love and things like that, right? And so please stop waging war on children. Republicans, I'm speaking to you and Joe Manchin. Stop doing this. Like in every respect, you are making life more dangerous for trans kids. You are making life more dangerous for gay kids. You are just making life more dangerous. And kids don't want this. God bless those Zoomers who are outraged at all this, who are just aghast and watching what is taking place and being like, fuck this noise. What the fuck is wrong with my parents? What the fuck is wrong with this generation? What the fuck is wrong with all of you? Like, do you realize this is to the benefit of no one? And it doesn't affect you. None of this affects you. Like, unless every single one of you is either like a closeted gay legislator, or you have a whole bunch of things going on in your head that you haven't worked out or something. You're passing legislation that probably doesn't affect you directly. It affects other people. You're just legislating the lives of other kids. Please fucking stop. And good on you, Zoomers. You make us all. You make us all a little bit happier. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback, because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we beseech thee to smite down our enemies. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble court jesters, here to amuse you. To our lords, Trevor R., we give thanks for this spit of land for us to eke out this meager existence. To our knights, Merid, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Ellie Leslie, Alex P., Brandon, Words Greenwood, Nate, that one guy, Hagbird Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Val 9000, Jenna Tall, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multi Mondi, Trevor Yanis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Catherine, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Josh Mickelson, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our flag in a veil, and we salute you, our friends.